Thanks for joining us on our streaming service for your drought alert. I'm your first alert meteorologist, Callie Zanandri. We're seeing some encouraging news this week's drought monitor update following the rain and snow that moved through on Monday and into early Tuesday morning. Conditions improved across the area, but Fort Collins, especially with drought levels moving from severe down to moderate drought. The highest drought category, exceptional drought, also shrank by about 5% across northwest Colorado. But the improvements weren't widespread. Not everyone saw beneficial rain or snow this week. Southern Colorado actually saw conditions deteriorate, with severe and extreme drought expanding. Joining us today is John Martin from Colorado State University to talk about the dry conditions and how they are affecting trees across Colorado and what homeowners should know as drought conditions continue. Thanks for being here, John.
Happy to be here. Thank you.
We're talking trees today. How does drought affect trees across the state?
Well, there are the obvious impacts to tissue health, but less appreciated are the indirect impacts on pests and disease. So that's something that could challenge trees in the state.
So if the conditions are dry, they're more susceptible for pests?
Right. A tree's health, well, the tree is less capable of withstanding attack from pests, for example. A famous example in the state of Colorado is mountain pine beetle. Pines are trying to pitch out those pine beetles that are infesting them, but if water is in short supply and the trees are stressed, they're less capable of doing so, and the pine beetles tend to proliferate more in a more pronounced way.
Yeah, those pine beetles, you really notice it up in the mountains. How can you tell the difference between a tree that's simply stressed and one that's in serious trouble?
Well, that refers to some wilting point. So a tree that is lightly stressed is going to probably show some loss in turgor is the term, but leaves will start to sag and to wither a little. But usually that's recoverable through responsive irrigation or precipitation. When tissues start to die, they become drier, more severely crinkled, and leaves start to drop, then the tree is in a more severe state of health.
How can people protect trees during drought?
Well, certainly you can irrigate. And it's important to irrigate when it's most appropriate. So right now, fortunately, we're getting a lot of moisture. When irrigation could be ceased or paused, monitoring the soil around the roots of your tree, even by visiting your tree and digging your fingers into the soil, or even taking a longer screwdriver and plunging it down into the soil and looking at how wet the soil is, going down a foot or so, will give you a sense for the root zone moisture and help you decide whether or not you should irrigate or not, or wait.
So with that screwdriver test, tell me what folks should be looking for. You plunge it down. If it comes out dry, you know you need to water.
Correct, right. If it comes out pretty muddy, then you know that there's quite a bit of moisture down there and you can hold off. Most of the time it's advisable to not irrigate as frequently with trees and to allow the soil to dry between irrigation.
And where should you water?
The drip line is where irrigation is very helpful. This is out at where the edge or the tips of the branches are. Directly below that location you're going to find more absorptive roots. It's a common misconception that irrigation is most helpful right at the trunk. It's better to irrigate out there at the absorptive roots, below drip line.
Yeah, that really surprises me because I would always think just do it right at the trunk, but you're saying actually move out under that canopy.
Mm-hmm, that's right.
Right. All right, so how important is mulch? We hear that a lot. People use that in their landscaping. Should you use that around your trees?
Definitely. It's helpful for many reasons, particularly in drought circumstances. It helps to retain moisture in the soil among the roots. It also helps to reduce the temperature the soil at that location. It also helps in the winter for insulating the soil. It also provides nutrients to the soil. And one of the, I think, helpful stories with mulch is not only the benefits that it provides to tree health, particularly in circumstances of drought, but its availability from municipalities that are providing mulch to residents. such as Boulder or Denver, Littleton. So you can sometimes go on free mulch giveaways. In other cases, you can go and retrieve it yourself.
I like free.
Yes.
That's always great.
Yes.
That's wonderful. What tips do you have for someone thinking about planting a new tree with the dry conditions?
Irrigation is going to be key. Thoughtful irrigation. That's the #1 for success in stewarding a young tree. The root zone isn't going to be as developed as a mature tree. It's going to be shorter radius, more susceptible to drying out. So I would say that thoughtful irrigation is probably the #1. Yeah, and utilizing mulch in that case too. It's certainly appropriate for a young tree as well.
Would you tell someone maybe hold off, next year would be a better water, fingers crossed next year's a better water year, or you think it's still okay to plant with the current conditions?
I think it's still okay to plant. Trees are a long-lived organism, so you want to get them in the ground and going and steward them to develop them up to mature size so they produce shade in many cases. Is probably one of the #1, but they produce many ecosystem services to include shade. So it's still important to plant. It's still important to steward them. Just be thoughtful about irrigation in drought conditions. Denver water's restrictions on water use are still very permissible to trees. So as long as you're responsible, I think it's very appropriate.
Yeah, no, they're also beautiful. Are there certain tree species that seem especially well equipped for Colorado's dryness?
Sure, there are many. An example could be a Kentucky coffee tree. It's particularly drought tolerant. There are many other examples that are published on a somewhat recently updated Front Range recommended species list, which is available online. And it was produced by several experts in arboriculture. And on that list, you'll see several choices that could maybe guide your considerations for species selection at home.
And you say it's also great to have a variety, correct?
It certainly is. Yeah, I think that's a pitfall, is to try and identify the best tree, the #1, the top performing tree. That perspective leads to uniformity across our urban space with regard to species, and in turn, susceptibility to harm from pests or diseases.
Now, can planting the right tree actually help communities deal with heat and water challenges?
It certainly can, yeah. If it's more drought tolerant, then the tree is likely to maintain better health when it's challenged by drought, or even an inopportunity on the part of the owner to irrigate when they should, for example.
And finally, quickly here, as we head into summer, what's one piece of advice you have for every Colorado homeowner to remember about tree care?
I would say appreciate your trees. If you are noticing them, watching them, appreciating what they're doing for you and for your neighborhood or community, then you're going to pick up on needs. You're going to go to the effort of checking the soil and seeing if now is a good time to irrigate, or if you could hold off and benefit our water resources in that way. So just appreciate your trees, engage them, become an interested person in trees.
Well, thank you so much for joining us, John, and sharing those helpful tips on keeping trees thriving during these very dry conditions. And we will see you back here next week for your Drought Alert.